off and come back.
Okay, we'll wait a second here, Brant. Go ahead. Okay, Brant, can you hear us? Okay. All right, it is 6:01 p.m. This is the Bluff Town regular meeting. Roll call. Whoops, hold on a second. It's Tuesday, June 13th, 2023. Roll call.
Linda Sosa,
Jim Sayers.
Luanne Hook.
Brant Murray.
And Leppanen.
Erin Nelson serving as town manager.
So the first item is the approval of the budget meeting minutes from June 6, 2023. Has everybody received them? Have you reviewed them, read them, and are there any changes or modifications?
Motion to approve.
I'll second that, Mayor.
Any discussion? All right, all in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Then it's unanimous. Second is the approval of regular Bluff Town Council meeting minutes of June 6, 2023. Same question, has everybody received them? Have you reviewed them? And are there any changes or modifications?
Motion to approve.
Same with me. Second.
Any discussion? Then all in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Then it's unanimous. So moving to the amended budget, a discussion and vote on the town of Bluff. Whoops, sorry, I've got to go back. I made a note to myself and I ignored it. Number one, today in the work session, talked about modifying meeting information on the town of Bluff agendas and on public comment information that would be provided and the way we do public comment. And because we had, a couple different ideas pop up, what I said was we would put this on for next week. So we're going to move that to June 20th so that Linda and I can work on kind of making some possible changes or making some of the suggested changes to the language in the agenda header and footer, and then talking about how public comment is handled, particularly public comment for public hearings. So unless somebody objects, we'll just move that to next week. Lou?
Yeah, that's fine, but I wondered if you had a spot for public comment that just got, for tonight, we're just passing by.
We are passing by. It wasn't on purpose. I took it, it wasn't on purpose. I took it out when I was doing the agenda and I didn't pick it up until it was too late to amend the agenda.
Okay, so if there's public comment, they can email.
They can email, they can always comment to us in person, but I'll make sure that whatever we're doing, I get the public comment in there so that we can have the public comment. But that's totally on me. I was trying to move too many things around. So thanks for pointing that out. So if everyone's okay with number one being on next week and then public comment as well. Hearing no objection, then I will move to number two, which is a discussion and vote on the Town of Bluff amended budget for the fiscal year 2023. Between the work session this morning at 11 and now, there have been no changes to the amended proposed 2023 budget.
Make a motion to approve as presented, Mayor?
Second.
So anyone on the council have any questions or concerns at this point about 2023? Okay. Okay. Then all in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Linda's freezing. Anyone opposed?
Oh.
All right, then it's unanimous. Then number 3 is discussion and vote on the certified tax rate. And I told Erin that when we were working on it today, if Erin never ever needs to be replaced, the first question I'm asking any potential employee is, how competent are you with doing things online? Because doing this once a year, I always struggle. And Erin was like, doot, 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 and it was done. So what we have for the certified tax rate for the property is using the calculator with keeping in mind our previous discussions that we did not want to increase taxes. We would go with the tax rate that is proposed, which is 0.000733. This would yield a budgeted revenue of $32,377. Erin, do you want to add anything to that?
Nope, spot on.
All right. So if that's what we want to do, then we just vote on the certified tax rate.
Motion to accept.
And I'll second that, Mayor. That's about our same levy as the last few years, maybe within $1,000, it seems to me. So it's just right. It's what we kind of pledged, or what I pledged to the people when I got elected.
All right. Then all in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? It's unanimous. Then there's some paperwork that we'll need to do with signing some resolutions that say that we voted on this and we're in compliance, and then sending it off to San Juan County, to Lyman Duncan. He does something on his end that solidifies this. I will use the caveat that because we do this once a year, in case something went through the cracks and we have to bring it back, we have next week to bring it back to do it, but we should be just fine with this. So that's the 2023. And we have a resolution that you all have that supports the adoption of an amended budget, amending the adopted budget for 2023. So if everyone has read that, stating that we are supporting the amended 2023 town budget and that we're passing it this evening, then I can take a motion and take a vote.
Are you talking
I'll
about
make that-
2024 or 2023?
No, 2023, you have to vote on the resolution now.
Okay.
I'll make
Yeah,
it
go ahead.
pass that resolution, Mayor.
Second.
Anyone opposed? Oops, any discussion? Then all in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? All right. So we've dealt with the amended 2023 budget and the certified tax rate. Now we are at the 2024 budget. And because, let me just get to that. As everybody kind of recalls our conversations this morning, there were no further tweakings, but now with the certified tax rate, as soon as we have it confirmed by Lyman Duncan, we'll need to fine tune this and bring it back for a vote on the 2024 budget, final tentative budget, and then on the resolution supporting the 2024. So this actually will move over to next week because Lyman Duncan will probably hit the button sometime in the next day or two and it'll be ready to pass. Now, does anybody have any questions on 2024 that they thought of since this morning? Otherwise, when we fine tune that number, it'll get posted. Erin, why don't you describe how much the change would be on that number?
It's like $200 if you want the specific, like it's about $200, maybe not even that. So yeah, that just increases our revenue slightly from what we talked about this morning and increases what you would put into capital projects by that much at the end of the year.
Perfect. So hearing no objection to moving this to next week, then we can move to number 5, update on the maintenance at the Town of Bluff Airport. I know that we received a report from the airport manager, and I have been in meetings since 8 o'clock this morning, and I have not read that. I'm assuming that the work that's being done at the airport is going along the way it's supposed to. Erin, have you heard anything differently?
Yeah, so I think the portion that they had already scheduled that would get done here in early July, that has been completed. There are a couple other parts that, they have to wait to apply the sealant and then temporary paint. So they're hoping that that's going to take place. It looks like we're hoping it's going to take place in the next couple of weeks before the end of June. And then 30 days after that, then they apply the permanent paint, which is a small percentage of the total contract. And I do appreciate airport manager has been taking care of all the necessary closures and everything, since clearly planes should not be landing when maintenance is being done. So many thanks to Jim for getting all of that taken care of. But it looks like we're moving right along. I have not seen anything regarding like payments and stuff. So Anne, if you had any updates there, that's the only piece that I would have been.
I haven't received anything from UDOT or anyone regarding payments. So as long as the work is progressing, I think, and it's meeting with our airport managers approval, that's the biggest piece I'm concerned about. As soon as I get something on the invoicing, though, I'll make sure that we all know it and that it's passed off to Erin and Linda to address, because there's that fine tweaking of getting the invoice, getting the reimbursement from UDOT and turning it around. It's a little different than what we're used to doing. So any questions or thoughts on that?
Thanks to Jim Hook for our management out there at the airport. He does a great job.
Brant, is it raining where you are?
No, but it's humid here, and I'm not used to it. So I've kind of got my little jacket on over when I brought with me. So no, it's we've had intermittent rain, but it's not currently raining.
Good job. All right, number 6, update on Sunrise Engineering's work. I think I'm closing in on the last of the information and questions that we had for Sunrise about the change applications. And I have a call that I need to make to the state just to confirm one piece of it. But it looks like what Sunrise will need to complete is the water right matrix that will show the water right points of just the PODs, the points of, and I'm losing my words, and the locations, overlaps, and then the rights that are approved. So we should be close to wrapping this up. I just had one more question for Mark Stilson at the state, and then I think we can tell Sunrise what to finish and what not to finish. Any questions about that? And I wanted to wait to make that call till I could have a second set of ears with Mark. And yesterday and today were not the days to try to make a call. It was just too busy. So moving to number 7, update on AmeriCorps and request for a grant writer, plus meeting with Community Rebuilds on May 25th, 2023. I have a call, the earliest call I could coordinate with AmeriCorps and CCC in Calais tomorrow. So I'm talking with AmeriCorps tomorrow about the grant writer position and what we might need to do for that, as well as what projects we might be able to develop for the next round of AmeriCorps people. In the meantime, on May 25th, I talked with Ricky Epperson at Community Rebuilds in Moab, and she called again yesterday, and we had a little longer conversation because she actually had a conversation and a meeting with Takeo from NCCC. He's also one of the regional coordinators. So I think what this looks like that I made up one other piece. I talked with Adrian Caesar last night about what Yes Tomorrow's or Design Build Bluff's capacity might be. Ricky and I talked about her conversation with Takeo, which was Takeo really liked Bluff and really liked the work that we did as a town with AmeriCorps. And he was brought in at the end of the first team, and then he was on for the second team. And he had encouraged me to think further geographic areas that we could partner with. And he had said we could go as far as Moab, which I had kind of struggled with, like what part of Moab would we, what entity? Well, Ricky has put in for a grant that will be much more competitive than the grants we've put in for. And in order to achieve that grant for housing and working on housing, Takeo suggested that they partner with another entity because that will make their grant application stronger, and that Bluff would be a good entity to partner with. So we talked about what could be done with housing, and we came up with, well, she came up with most of the suggestions. One was, does St. Christopher's need any more help on the tiny houses? Well, this team would be available to us if we paired up with Community Rebuilds. This team would be available in January of 2024. Joe Hubbard is leaving St. Christopher's. The project isn't completely done, but of course, when I talked with Ricky yesterday, I just haven't had time to touch base with St. Christopher's. But it may be that those tiny houses either are finished up before January, or if they're still there, the question would be supervision, who would be able to do that, because my conversations with the Episcopal Church Center 2 weeks ago was they're just going to have an interim person. So I don't know that supervision is even something that could be done. The other two ways of going would be the town partnering with Design Build Bluff to see what housing needs they might have that they'd be working on, and Yes Tomorrow. And so I'm going to get in touch with Adrian Caesar before she leaves to go back to Washington State, because she was quite interested in it. The Score Up House really needs work, and that houses people who are coming as students, and that may be a possibility, is to put in for our month work on the Score Up House with Yes Tomorrow or Design Build Bluff, probably Design Build Bluff, providing the supervision on the work. So it's kind of a convoluted conversation, but I think unless the council is opposed, I'll just continue to work with folks to try to see if there's a fit for us for January of 2024 to help with some of the housing concerns in Bluff. So, Jim?
I think that's a good idea, Mayor. And they do get a lot of work done and really good for town. So we can find a way to supervise them as we get closer to the event, I'm sure.
I think either one of those entities would be good for supervision over the Score Up House. I have been on that tour of its needs, and they're substantial. And it's a pretty big, good sized house. It's divided up into a lot of places where people can stay and do stay, actually. But it's pretty crude right now, and it really needs some, it definitely needs upgrade. So I'm behind that Score Up House idea for starters.
Linda, Lou, any thoughts?
It sounds good. It, you know, it's probably a good side also because, January.
Yep. Lou, any thoughts?
No,
I like the idea of all the ideas. I like best pairing up with Yes Tomorrow and Design Build Bluff to work on the Score Up House. Partly because it helps us have some built-in supervision, and I don't know that anybody has on the council is equipped or has the time to supervise building projects for a month. So I'll keep exploring it, and hopefully I'll be in touch with Ricky. She has another call with NCCC, I think on Thursday. So we agreed to touch base tomorrow. And so I'll get a hold of Adrian. She's on campus all week. I'll get a hold of Adrian tomorrow, see how close we are to being able to say to Community Rebuilds and NCCC that we'd be interested in that partnership. The one piece that I'm a little edgy about is we do, when they're here for that month, we do have to provide housing. And so I need to do some checking with Yes Tomorrow and Design Build Bluff about housing. And then I could also run it by Mission and see if there's any possibility of using the Mission. Lou?
yeah, so I'm, been listening to what your ideas are and stuff, but is it going to involve some sort of interlocal agreement with like the university if we're on their property, or how? It seems a little bit complicated unless we're just in support of their project, like we back it, or if we're actually quite involved.
It's the same way we've done the other two. The grant is already written by Community Rebuilds, are pretty close to finalizing it. We would be a supporting partner in that we would be the municipal entity, but it wouldn't be an interlocal agreement. It's just everybody's providing the resources. Just think about it like we did last year and the year before. So it's all managed within the grant. And that's why the first year we had an issue where there was some work done that couldn't be done inside the grant, and they weren't thrilled with it. There were 2 days that were not defined in the grant. This would be more defined because it would be a building project in one place. So it's not,
Okay.
really, the main work would probably be sharing the lunch and learns, but I think for a month, that's only 4 lunch and learns, 5 at the max, and divided up, it'd be like 2 and 2. So it's not a big deal. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, I think so. Thank you.
And the Squirt House is a good idea if we want to kind of concentrate on that. I'm all behind that.
Yeah, and I'm anxious to talk with the folks tomorrow about the possibility of a grant writer and what we need to do to be able to pull a grant writer in for a year. So I'll just move this over and keep working on it. All right, then number 8, update on the grant request to Sam on Clean Energy, which is White Mesa Mill, for removal and mitigation of the giant cane, the Arondo, and a discussion of the ordinance to support the grant requirements. Lou, do you want to take that?
Yeah, so we are up for a second interview on, we're partnering with the Discovery Center in Monticello. So they're the ones that have applied for the grant with our backing. It's in order to have the kids learn skills. They've got a group of the Youth Conservation Corps that they put out. Most of them are Native kids, but anybody can join, but that's kind of who they target to help get out and learn some work, learn some skills. So they were the ones that started this idea of the Arundo, and then we switched over to the other kids when they were here and needed some work. But the Arundo's been mapped. A lot of a lot of it's been removed, but it is on the high priority of the county. I looked up a few things. There's a state law, it's the Utah law of 1971 that requires municipalities and counties to keep the invasive weeds in check. So the invasive weeds, a weed is something that grows anywhere that you don't want it to be, but an invasive weed has a potential to take over and become a real problem. So the priority ones are the ones that they put on that we can get rid of and we can prevent them from spreading. So the giant cane, the arundo, Domax, and it comes by a lot of names, but that is on that list. So as a town, we are supposed to let people know that it's on their property. We're supposed to enforce that it gets off. Enforcement, the word enforcement is the ones that I found online. Park City has a good example, and that Summit County, of how they encourage people to get rid of it on their own, and then also have education programs, all of that sort of thing. So this group that we've got the second interview coming up, but one of the things that they said was that unless they know that the whole town, the town council and the property owners are willing to cooperate, they probably aren't interested. And they said what we need is a resolution to show that support. And then I found the law today that says that we are supposed to be enforcing especially those invasive ones. So the question is if we can make a resolution, get some, that would start the education. And then part of what these kids could do is continue on the mapping, and then notification to different households that, hey, you have this on your property. Would you like some help to get rid of it? They're here to help. And so that's where we're at. I'm sure they will not get the grant unless we have that in place. And the second interview is July 10th. Questions?
So we have some time to internally look at a resolution or an ordinance. Do they want an ordinance or a resolution?
Well, when I look around, it looks like it's a resolution. It looks like, at least a couple towns that I could find, it looks like it's a resolution, and then it's a state law already. So it's a resolution to comply with the state law.
I don't see any problem with the
Would you
resolution.
like a vote?
Yeah,
Oh, go ahead.
I can make a resolution right now, but we probably ought to do it more professionally than I will.
Yeah, it needs to have some detail, and I just want to remind everyone that I think, again, I think that we did pass a resolution on weeds a few years ago to try to encourage people, so we should go back and revisit if we did and fine tune that. I think that I don't think we need a vote to have a consensus. Do we want to move forward or not? And then that means getting it on another agenda and getting some drafts done. Erin?
So just a quick look on the town website, which does how all of our current resolutions. There is indeed a resolution to adopting a noxious weed duty to control. And so that looks like that was passed. Maybe we can just take a look. It was passed in November 2021. So something to start with.
That's great. Yeah, we should look at that, and then I can at least say, hey, we've had this on our agenda or our radar for quite some time at the interview, and that it,
I think the question will be so resolutions are not the same as ordinances. Ordinances are legally binding, whereas resolutions are just feel good. We feel good about, we want people to do this, but there's no teeth behind it. And so what we really should look at, whether we want to use that resolution to bolster an ordinance that says, if, this is what you have to do, and if you don't do it, this is the teeth behind it. So we can take a look at that. I think we don't need a vote, but is there anyone that's opposed to continue to move this forward and take a look at it? Okay. Lou, why don't you and I talk about how we want to get ready for that July, because both that July 10th interview, because I'll be gone for a period of time, you'll be gone, and probably if we don't touch base in the next week, we'll be like passing in the night.
Yeah, it'd be good to have it kind of ready work on it this week, I'd say.
Okay, great. Anything further from the council?
I guess the other thing that I didn't mention is that San Juan County also has it on its first priority list. It's like Summit County, everybody has that particular weed on their first priority, that immediately attack it if seen anywhere in your area. So that's, again, it's the state law saying get after it.
And I think that's why we passed resolution in 2021, was because it had been pushed by the county that we needed to be doing more.
Mm-hmm.
All right, then number 9, discussion of the ceiling demolition and material removal project competitive bid and cultural capital grant update. Right now, the bidding process is still open until 5 o'clock p.m. on Thursday of this week. So we're just waiting with bated breath to see if we have some folks bid on this. And I don't think anything changed between our work session this morning and today. Erin, has anything come in?
No, I would just say that the bid packet's available on our website, and you can email it, send it by mail, or hand deliver it if you have a bid. And then, based on some of our discussion in the work session, originally it's like, we need to ensure that you award the contract as soon as possible, but knowing that we might have a little bit of an extension, you may not want to call a special meeting. It could just be rolled into your discussions on Tuesday night after the DRC has talked again. But I will leave that up to the council in terms of how quickly you want to review those bids and award a potential contract.
Jim, I'm kind of assuming you probably didn't have time either today to reach out to the state, Kristen Mead, about the extension.
No, this is number 4 meeting for me today, but I'll get to it. But I don't know if it would affect this discussion. I think we're okay. I just want to make sure that the state is on board, or it knows what was going on, keep them in the loop, and it's always better that way. No, I just think we ought to move forward on this. It has to be done, but for the fire suppression system to be installed. So that's what the money was for. So I'm sure it's covered.
Okay, good. Is there anything further on that cultural capital grant, Jim, that you want to add? Or
no, I think we've said everything that needs to be said. We've got about 79,000, and we need to spend as much of it as we can as quickly as possible. We don't really know. We can get an extension into August, and they may be longer. I don't know. It just depends on how many projects are in the same boat we're in. But I think they put an unreasonably short timeline on this because it's their first go around trying to help towns out like this, and I don't think they realize that it takes it's so difficult to get these bids in some of these towns, and so difficult to get these projects going, as we already know. So I think they're figuring that out as we speak. So we'll see, but everything's okay so far.
okay, good. Then moving to number 10, new business, report and discussion of the Acton's petition to disconnect 9,500 acres from the town of Bluff, and then report on the discussions with the School Institutional Trust Lands Administration, and a discussion about the solar farm, and the discussion with the Episcopal Church for Navajo land. So when the history behind this is that when the town council voted to deny Judy Lyman's petition to disconnect 640 acres up on the Bluff bench, it was pretty quiet from Mr. Baird, which I assumed he was working the legislature to make some law changes, as he told us that was one possibility that he would be looking at. He didn't appeal our decision. Instead, what Mr. Baird did was he went to School Institutional Trust Lands Administration and came at us again with a petition to disconnect. The Lyman property is now owned by Acton, and the Acton's petition has been joined in by SITLA, School Institutional Trust. The way I understand this to work is that Mr. Baird successfully persuaded SITLA to join in on the disconnect. When a petitioner does the petition to disconnect, they have to supply a map. And in Utah, you can permissively, as the petitioner, put in any piece of property you want into that bubble. So you can draw that boundary on the map however you think it's going to work. And as SITLA told us in a meeting, they did this to deliberately not create an island or a peninsula. So we have SITLA joining in, which is ballpark, I'm going to say 7,000 acres of SITLA land. Don't anybody hold me to the acreage. It's slightly more than 9,500 total. 640 is the Acton property. There's a section of BLM land also that was permissively drawn in. We do not have anything that indicates that BLM has joined that. I had a meeting just by chance. When I was in Salt Lake to get the award 2 weeks ago, it was in the building for the Episcopal Church Center. And that morning when I was looking for the directions, it was like this light bulb went off in my mind about maybe the attorney or whoever I could talk to would be in. So the next day I actually sat down with the attorney, and the Navajo land piece of it is represented by the same attorney that represents the Episcopal Church of Utah. He was unaware of this permissive drawing in of the mission and the mission lands. I left him with the information. We'll be figuring out what to do next. But it was very clear, at least at that moment from the conversation with him, that the mission and Navajo land had absolutely no interest in disconnecting from the town. Even if you take that piece out, the boundary is still huge. So that's kind of the update on where we are. I have kept it off the agenda deliberately until we had word officially from SITLA that they intended to join this action. And on May 26th, we received a letter stating that, well, it's dated May 26th. I got it several days after that, but stating that, yes, they intend and have joined in with this disconnect petition filed by Bruce Baird on behalf of the Actons. The letter goes on to state from School Institutional Trust Executive Director that this does not diminish their desire to work with the town in other trust lands that we may have in our boundaries. So there are a number of things we need to be thinking about, but we needed to put this out to the community because it will be talked about now like out in the community, and we'll be looking for public input. Today, Mr. Baird and our attorney, Chris McEnany, were able to reach an agreement as to the date of the public hearing. And I'm sure everybody remembers Mr. Baird. He's been chomping at the bit, so to speak, to get this public hearing. But because the law does not require us to jump at his request, it was decided by me to kind of wait until we had more information before we responded. So right now, unless one of the council members has an objection to the date, and of course, I believe it's August. Erin, can you help me with this? August 15th?
August 15th.
August 15th, which is a regular Tuesday meeting date. Mr. Baird will be joining us once again for a public hearing. And depending on how much the council has on its plate, we may or may not have a council meeting that night. I think that if the public hearing that we had on the Judy Lyman petition was any indication, we will have a lot of public comment and public participation. And I'm going to be watching the agenda items pretty carefully to see if we can keep that entire time open and not have to have a regular council meeting and just have the public hearing. Well, open it and then move into the public hearing. But anyone from the council have any additions, any questions that you want to make at this point? Keeping in mind that there is legal strategy that we need to be talking about that's, so Brant, did you have a question?
Is this a normal, has Sitla done this before?
Not that I am aware of, not that came up in any discussion with Sitla. In on the discussions were, from Sitla were Michelle McConkie, who is the executive director, Brian Torgerson, who is the person assigned to our region in Sitla, a person whose name I can't remember because he didn't say anything, and then their legal counsel.
Okay, good. Thank you.
So I think, that we'll just keep plugging away. Mr. Baird will be in person. And we will be getting notices out and posted up again to let people know that this is coming at us. Any questions from the council, or shall we just go ahead and move on?
Somebody's got a hand up, I think. No?
Anyone on the
Oh, I was just wondering, so we, on the town website, there are like resident resources and it links to current issues that we're talking about. So I will post that petition up there tomorrow for folks to take a look at with your approval, Anne.
Yes, and that would include the map, I'm assuming. I think there are actually 2 maps, but yes, if you could do that, that would be great. And for somebody listening to this who doesn't, who's doing it by phone or doesn't have access to a computer, if you stop into the office or let me know or let Erin know, we can make some hard copies. There's only, I think, 4 or 5 pages that we'd have to run off, and be happy to do that for you if you don't have access to printing it or getting on and looking at it. Then moving to number 11, update on the 20. Boy, I am stuck on 2013. 2023, wow. I also labeled my own files 2013 for the primary election, so I guess I'm just going backward. The 2023 primary and general elections dates by the proclamation of Governor Cox. Now, this came as kind of a, let's just say it caught everyone off guard. And the Utah League of Cities and Towns really went to work on it because there is a retirement of, let's see if it's on my notes here. Because of a retirement of one of the congressional folks in the state of Utah, there needed to be some adjustments. And I'm not sure exactly how this decision was made, but the long and short of it is the new election dates will be, the primary is September 5th. It's not in August. It's going to be September 5th. And then the general election is going to be November 21st, not the first Tuesday of November. Utah League of Cities and Towns, if you council, if you read the fun facts of Friday from Cameron Deal, they were really worked themselves off on this one because this is a ripple effect for us, but we have a limited election for the big counties and cities and towns that have multiple ballot printings, like literally 1 million. And they've probably been started printing as soon as they got those declarations. This is a huge issue. I don't think fiscally it will impact us through San Juan County because we have a limited election, but this was really a big deal. I've sent an email to the 5 people who filed for the candidacy for the 2 open seats on the council, alerting them specifically to this. I also told the 5 of them that in the past, what we've done when there are seats that are open is we've hosted like a public forum, question and answer, something. And if they want, the 5 of them want to do what we've done in the past, they can contact the town and we can make arrangements for a date for the community center to be open and available at no charge for them to use it to do that public forum. What I would like all of us to suggest is that none of us offer to chair or run that forum because it's a seat amongst ourselves. And I think that it would be best if the 5 of them get together and decide, or 3 or whoever want to do something. I think it would be best that it'd be the best practice to have someone who's not on the council or employed by us doing that. But certainly they would work then with Malia Collins on scheduling. I think the only time we'd really need to pay attention to it is if all 5 wanted to run their own separate little forum. And then I don't think that's a good use of the space, but that's just me. And we deal with it. I would envision they'd all do it at the same time. But again, that's for them to decide, and then we can talk about it when we have more detail. Any questions or thoughts on the change in the election?
Thank you.
Yeah, I'm glad this is the one time I'm glad I'm not on Utah League of Cities and Towns Board. Let's see. The next thing is number 12, a request for a July 4th, 2023 celebration by Wesley Shook. Sent a request to the council to consider having something on July 4th, the founding day of the country, that would be here at the community center using Fire Mesa Kitchen. He offered to contribute a substantial sum of money to food, either catered or potluck. I like the idea. He was piggybacking off of another resident's comments about a public celebration for the community. And I like the idea. I will not be here. And if the town council wanted to vote to do something, it would certainly have to fall on those folks who are here in town to organize it. I'll be leaving June 24th and not coming back until the 9th. So there's no way I would be able to do that. So what are y'all thinking about this request?
Mayor, we've turned down some requests for townwide celebrations in the last year or two based on kind of what we could, logistics and that sort of thing. So at this time for this year, I'd say we pass on this.
And my question is, can't they just do that?
Mm-hmm.
Does it have to be town sponsored? Can they just use the community center area and put signs up and everybody that's here go for it?
Yeah, people are free to use the pavilion, the outside activity without asking. I think that, the request was specific to have the town sponsor it, but there's nothing that prevents anyone from using it over a time period. So I'm not hearing that anybody wants to make it a town activity. Is that a correct
Correct.
Okay.
Yes.
All right, then I will,
Nice. Oh, sorry.
no, go ahead.
Okay, I think it's a nice idea. I love all the potlucks and all of the gatherings and things. It's 4th of July is a tough time, and Blanding kind of has that for the whole entire county. The town goes completely quiet. Restaurants, the store, everything is closed. So it's the people who are still here, and that's, I don't think we would have a big competition for a lot of people to miss all those other things. But it's a nice idea.
I like the idea, and it might be that there's something that we could, do later, but I agree with Brant. We have turned down a couple requests, well, pretty much all the requests the last year and a half for creating a town thing. But certainly if people want to gather there on July 4th or that weekend, that's totally possible and permissible. If they want to open the kitchen or the community center, there would be the fee for that. And if they wanted to make a request to waive the fee, there's a process for that. All right, then number 13, consideration and vote to cancel. I'm sure Luann's going to oppose this, the July 5th Bluff Town Council meeting.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All right. So we will cancel the July 5th, which we had moved from July 4th to July 5th. And I feel like we've had so much going on in June that let's let Luanne have her way and have that day off. So we'll just cancel it. Did all in favor say aye? Aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay. I will get that on the Utah Public Notice website that we will not have a meeting that day. Then number 14 is update on the Bluff Town work session that was this morning. I think we've pretty much, let me just flip to the work session. I think we've covered the really crucial pieces. We talked about the budget, the 2023 budget, the 2024 budget, touched on the certified tax rate, but we hadn't done the calculations at that point. We moved the discussion of the changes to public comment and the agenda to next week. Anybody want to comment on any of the other items we talked about in the work session? Then hearing nothing, is there any other? Lou?
I just wanted to, you probably all got the same email, but there's an Outdoor Adventure Commission workshop tomorrow up at the, that center up in Monticello, Discovery Center. And it's from noon to 5, and it's the Director of Outdoor Recreation and Tourism is sponsoring that, trying to get feedback on how recreation looks across the state. So, if somebody was available, if there's an RSVP, if you didn't get that, let me know and I can send it to you if somebody wants to go. I would like to be there just for like the trails, through the county and that kind of thing, but I can't be up there all afternoon, so.
Yeah, I think it would be a really good thing to go to, but there's no way I can make it. All right, then if there is no other, then do we have a motion to go into an executive session?
So made.
Second.
Okay, so the motion would be to
Leave this.
and go into executive session to discuss strategy for the purchase, exchange, or lease of real property and pending or reasonably imminent litigation pursuant to Utah Code 52-4-205, and to adjourn immediately following that closed session. All in favor say aye. Aye.
Right.
Aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed?
And just a
Right.
reminder, make sure you turn this meeting off. Or Erin closes it out, or however that works.
I'm shutting it down.
I'm not going to be able to get involved unless it's on this link, y'all. I don't have any other links working. So if
Brant, Brant,
Yeah.
I just sent you the link.
Okay.
good.
I am
Thank you.
stopping this recording. Everybody log off.
All right.
All righty. Bye-bye, everybody.